Welcome to Bodie. Today, only 5% of the buildings remain from the town's heyday. Most fell victim to time, fire, and the elements. W.S. Bodie from Poughkeepsie, New York, discovered gold here in 1859. He died months later in a blizzard, never having seen the town that honors him. Mining in the district progressed at a slow pace until 1875, when a mine collapse revealed a rich body of gold ore. Word spread fast, and Bodie's boomtown days began. Bodie's population probably ranged from 7,000 to 8,000 in the peak years of 1877 to 1881. And Bodie's mining district included 30 different mines and 9 stamp mills. Along with miners and merchants, Bodie attracted a rougher element who gave the town a reputation for bad men and wild times. There were more than 60 saloons, many near the Bonanza Street houses of prostitution, and there were opium dens in the Chinatown section. The boom years were over quickly as unsuccessful mines began closing. The population dropped quickly and continued to dwindle into the 1900s. Mining continued until 1942. The family of Bodie's last major landowner, James S. Kane, hired caretakers to watch over the town and protect it from looters and vandals. In 1962, California State Parks purchased the town as a state park to preserve the historic buildings and artifacts. This Methodist church, built in 1882, is Bodie's only church still standing. A Catholic church burned in 1928. An oilcloth with the Ten Commandments once hung behind the pulpit, but it was stolen, disregarding the commandment not to steal. This house, built in 1873, was home to the Kane family, who sold the town of Bodie to California State Parks in 1962. This big red barn is typical of what was once used throughout Bodie. Tom Miller, born in Canada, worked as a teamster for the Bodie Railway and Lumber Company, and he lived here with his wife Jessie and 2 children. James and Martha Kane lived in this house. James was in the lumber business. Then in 1888, he became a banker, and he kept the Bodie Bank open until 1932. Left to right here, the brick building is the DeChambeau Hotel and a post office. Then we have the Independent Order of Odd Fellows Lodge, a fraternal society. The building with bunting is the Miners Hall Museum, used for social activities. And finally, on the right, we have a morgue. The Boone Store and Warehouse, owned by Harvey Boone, a distant cousin of Daniel Boone. 2 businesses here, a bar owned by Sam Leon from China, and a barber shop run by Joe Hanner, who was the last barber to work in Bodie. This firehouse was rebuilt in the 1930s. Volunteer firefighters battled a number of fires over the years. The 1892 fire on Main Street consumed about 60 buildings. Efforts to fight the fire were delayed due to a valve that had been closed inadvertently. This is Wheaton and Lures, a store built in the early 1880s. Originally a lodging house, this became a school after the first school was allegedly burned down by a juvenile delinquent. In 1879, the school saw its highest enrollment of 615 students. It closed in 1942. A.E. McMillan was secretary of the Bodie Miners Union. His son Dan had only one arm, yet was manager of the Bodie baseball team in the early 1900s. Bob and Annie Conway lived here with 3 children. The hops growing on the front railing were said to be the only green plants that could survive in Bodie. Frank Quinville, a blacksmith, moved to Bodie in the 1880s and raised 5 children here with his wife, Mary. This is the Standard Consolidated Mining Company stamp mill. They were the most successful of 30 mining companies operating in the Bodie area. Here, quartz rock containing gold was broken up to extract the precious metal. A brick vault is all that remains of the Bodie Bank after a 1932 fire. Here's the Bodie Town Jail. In 1881, vigilantes took accused murderer Joseph DeRoche from the jail and hanged him. Hundreds of horses and mules pulled wagons in Bodie. This stable, owned by Stuart Kirkwood, housed a blacksmith shop where horses, mules, and oxen were shod. One-armed attorney Patrick Reddy was known for defending miners and laborers. He lived in this house with his wife Emily, and he eventually became a California state senator. Canadian Lester Bell lived here with his wife Charity. He was in charge of a cyanide plant that extracted gold from otherwise worthless low-grade ore. This sawmill provided desperately needed firewood to keep Bodie's poorly constructed homes warm during winters when temps could reach 30 below zero. Many died of exposure. Henry Metzger came to Bodie in 1878 to work at the Standard Company stamping mill. He was the foreman when the mill closed in 1913. He lived here with his wife Lena and 5 children.